Okay, guys, my commentary may not be on point. I'm a little tired, honestly. Been very tired lately. I probably just don't take very good care of myself. Anyway, so contrary to what his experts have said, Pompeo has decided to keep Saudis off of the U.S. child soldiers list. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has blocked the inclusion of Saudi Arabia on a U.S. list of countries that recruit child soldiers, dismissing his experts' findings that a Saudi-led coalition has been using underage fighters in the Yemen civil war, according to 4 people familiar with the matter. This sounds like protectionism of an ally, in which case we've sort of become like the good man doing nothing when we see bad, but we do nothing about it. The decision, which drew immediate criticism from human rights activists and a top Democratic lawmaker, could prompt new accusations that U.S. President Donald Trump's administration is prioritizing security and economic interests in relations with oil-rich Saudi Arabia, a major U.S. ally and arms customer. Pompeo's move followed unusually intense internal debate. It comes amid heightened tensions between the United States and Iran, the Saudis' bitter regional rival. State Department experts recommended adding Saudi Arabia to the soon-to-be released list, based in part on news reports and human rights groups. Assessments that the Desert Kingdom has hired child fighters from Sudan to fight for the U.S.-backed coalition in Yemen, the 4 sources said. The experts' recommendation faced resistance from some other State Department officials who, according to 3 of the sources, argued that it was not clear whether the Sudanese forces were under the control of Sudanese officers or directed by the Saudi-led coalition. A New York Times report in December cited Sudanese fighters saying their Saudi and United Arab Emirates commanders directed them at a safe distance from the fighting, against the coalition's foes, Iran-aligned Houthi militias. The allegations of recruiting child soldiers are completely incorrect and are not based on evidence or factual findings, said Colonel Turki al-Malki, a spokesman for the Saudi-led coalition. He instead accused the Saudis' foes of using child fighters in Yemen. Pompeo rejected the recommendation from the experts who are from the State Department's Anti-Human Trafficking Office, said the 4 sources who spoke on coalition of anonymity. The office has a key role investigating the use of child soldiers. Worldwide, the United States condemns the unlawful recruitment and use of child soldiers. We place great importance on ending the practice wherever it occurs, a State Department official said in response to questions. The official, however, did not specifically address the Saudi decision or whether any consideration was given to Riyadh's security ties to Washington. Instead of adding Saudi Arabia to the list, Sudan will be reinstated after being removed last year, 3 of the sources said. A spokesman for Sudan's paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, which has contributed fighters to the Yemen war, said the forces affiliated with Sudan's military, based on Sudanese laws. It does not recruit minors, he said. He did not respectfully respond to a question on who controlled Sudanese forces in Yemen. The fact that no one's really going to say anything specific on this, the fact that they're not really saying conclusively as to whether yay or nay, if it's happening or not, to me seems very telling that there's, at least on one side, an attempt at deception, and I believe it is on the Middle Eastern side, that they're attempting to deceive. Anyway, the UAE government did not respond to a request for comment. The child soldiers list will be part of the State Department's annual Global Trafficking in Persons report, which the sources said is expected to be released as early as Thursday. Ban on U.S. aid. The Child Soldiers Prevention Act of 2008 requires the State Department to report annually on countries using child fighters, defined as any person under 18 years of age who takes a direct part in hostilities as a member of governmental armed forces. Foreign militaries on the list cannot receive U.S. aid, training, and weapons unless the President issues full or partial waivers of those sanctions based on national interest. Trump and his predecessors have done this in the past for countries with close security ties to the United States. Yeah, where we let them get away with shit just because, oh, it's going to affect us, it's going to affect us. Yeah, so what? I think we can take a hit in this case. Because these people are literally employing teenagers to go and fight in wars and get PTSD for them. That's not okay. They're young, they're impressionable, they're way more easily scarred by that kind of stimuli. This is only going to fuck them up for good. Basically, they have an entire generation of Hiro Yui running around in the Middle East. And, you know, if you watch the frickin' follow-up movie to Gundam Wing, Hiro was fucking screwed up. And he finally admitted it, that he was screwed up. Hell, he nearly committed harakiri during the actual series. You really want, like, a bunch of kids running around who are thinking and functioning like that? I mean, really? Ugh, people. Anyway, this is reprehensible, U.S. Senator Bob Menendez, the top Democrat on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, said in a post on Twitter. Is there no limit to what the Trump admin is willing to do to cover for Saudi Arabia's human rights abuses and violations of international norms? Sarah Morgan, director of Human Rights Watch's Washington office, said, this decision shows clearly that the Trump administration is using political manipulation and dismissing evidence at the expense of kids in order to protect Saudi Arabia. While internal debates over issues like child soldier violations often take place ahead of the release of the annual State Department list, this one is especially heated, several of the sources said. Since the end of 2016, the Saudi-led coalition has deployed as many as 14,000 Sudanese at any given time, including children as young as 14, to fight in Yemen, offering payments of up to $10,000 per recruit, according to the New York Times. The article cited Sudanese fighters who had returned home and Sudanese lawmakers. In Washington, the Yemen conflict is a contentious issue well beyond the State Department. Republican Democratic lawmakers citing evidence of Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman having a role in the 2018 killing of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi, and angered by the civilian toll from the Saudi-led air campaign in Yemen, have ramped up efforts to block Trump's multi-billion-dollar arms sales to Saudi Arabia. Congressman Tom Malinowski and Ted Lieu organized a letter to Pompeo from more than a dozen lawmakers in March that said they were gravely concerned by credible reports of the Saudi-led coalition deploying Sudanese child fighters in Yemen. They called for a U.S. investigation, including into whether they had been armed with U.S.-made weapons, and also asked for any inquiry into credible evidence of Houthi forces forcibly conscripting minors into combat. These credible sources are the sorts that they always use for U.S. intelligence. It's what they do with those sources that is often bad, but the intelligence itself is typically very much spot on. But no, Trump and Pompeo are engaged in protectionism, not only for the United States, but apparently for Saudi Arabia as well. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. I am so sick of the protectionism, the interventionism, and the unnecessary needless wars that this country is always getting us involved in. Cut it out! I'm sick of this shit. If Saudi Arabia starts recruiting child soldiers, which they apparently have, then stop protecting them. Put them on the list, or otherwise just don't have anything to do with them. Let them go. Wash your hands of this crap. That is all. Out.